Hi guys, it is Ella, and today we are going to be discussing plastic pollution in the ocean. Now, we all like the beach, right? Well, did you know that around 524,000 pounds or 238 metric tons of plastic are washed up around beaches, and a third of this plastic is polluting the ocean? Now, this is the plastic that we consume from our food wrappers and water bottles and many other sources. Now, these end up in the oceans and enter into our nature. People take these items into remote locations and then they consume this food and dump them. It's more of the focus of being out and about that is the problem, right? When we're at home, we can monitor where we put our plastic. But in a world of many opportunities and advanced locations, being out is one of the main forms of entertainment. Now, from a young age, I'm sure we've all been made aware of plastic and its detrimental effects to the ocean, from documentaries to campaigns to movies, all to shock and catch people's attention. Now, this issue has been brought closer to public attention by various campaigns and documentaries like the one released on Netflix called Seaspiracy. Now, this is a documentary about the environmental impact of fishing, and this also examines various human impacts on marine life, and it does advocate for ending fish consumption. Now, directors sought to differentiate between some of the campaigns against plastic in the ocean, such as disposable straws, and have drawn the comparison to the Great Garbage Patch. Now, you may be wondering, what is the garbage patch and where is this located? It's the most polluted patch of water in the planet, and it's also located between Hawaii and California. It spans water from the west coast of America to the north of Japan. It's also been estimated that 40% of that plastic waste in that area, and let's bear in mind that that's twice the size of Texas and 3 times the size of France, and it still is continuing to expand. Now, this area is mainly filled with discarded fishing equipment such as nets, floats, buoys and ropes, rather than things like plastic straws. Now, I want you to think back to the media. You would agree with me saying that most of the media promotes using metal straws and provides us with images. I'm sure you've all seen the famous one of the turtle with the straw through its nose. Promoting any plastic alternatives is a step closer to reducing our plastic pollution. Did you know that this only accounts for 0.02% of the waste in the ocean? Okay, now let me give you an option. How much plastic do you think is in a baby sea turtle's stomach? So, 50%, 75%, or 100%? The realization is it is 100%. Every single baby turtle has a form of plastic in their stomach, which is unbelievable. But this is a choice we have chosen to do the animals. Although there are more biodegradable forms of plastic, these particles are still being broken down into smaller pieces and being securely passed on to the food chain, which is an acute threat to us as humans as well as the animals. Now, fish is consumed by 3 billion people per year, as it's one of the greatest forms of protein. However, plastic is already in our food chain and carrying microplastics from what they have eaten themselves. I've previously discussed Seaspiracy in this podcast before, so you should definitely give it a watch if you have not. I would definitely recommend that. It had given out lots of facts throughout the episode. It disclaims that 50% of our ocean's plastic is due to fishing nets and equipment. However, it actually accounts for 86%. Even if these facts in the documentary are not all 100% accurate, if it serves the purpose of increasing public awareness, then who really cares, right? It is us. We are the problems. We are killing these animals. Humans do kill 32.11 sharks per hour, whether that's from boating accidents or to eat. And I wanted to take the matters into my own hands. And here is an interview I will show from someone who has a closer relationship with this issue of plastic pollution in the ocean. And you can hear insightful information that will help us gain a further understanding of this topic. Due to this fact that this podcast is predominantly based around plastic in the ocean, it does make it hard for there to be any tasks I can give you. However, I would really encourage all of you to watch Seaspiracy. It's approximately an hour and a half, and it has great facts and information to further understanding on our plastic knowledge of the ocean. Now I'm going to present to you all this interview from David Tossard, who is a director marine engineer.
Hi, Ella. Ella, thanks for these questions that you've put forward to me with regards to plastic waste management, plastic pollution. Yeah. So I'll crack on straight into the first question. And your first question was, what does your company do to reduce plastic in the oceans? As you probably know, I work in the shipping industry, and the International Maritime Organization, IMO, have very, very strict controls on discharges from any vessel, any registered vessel, sort of anything above about 50 tons, from small vessels. So today you cannot throw any waste from vessels. There is what they call a garbage management plan, and vessels have to record what they take on board, all the packaging, and they have to have proof that has been packed and secured, and it's been discharged ashore to a recycling centre, and that is governed very strictly by the agents that manage the vessels, and of course report to the authorities. So I think that's an area that has been improving, although there are some smaller operators that maybe just sort of slip through the cracks. But in general, in the shipping industry, that there's a very strong awareness of plastic refuse being discharged to the oceans. Yeah. Your second question was, what do you do in your personal life to reduce plastic, and what are the changes that you've made? I think, like many families, this is the awareness and the concerns. Of course, the public in the public domain and TV, you're seeing all these shocking pictures of plastic and the impact to the oceans and the wildlife, to the animals, the fish, etc. And I think it makes a very strong impression on everybody. And I think we try to reduce our use of plastic, and maybe our awareness of it is growing faster than our actual how we're reducing it. When I say that, we try to find ways to eliminate plastic. One of the small ways we're doing that is, for example, we've reduced our use of plastic film by about 90%. We use these sort of wax covers, which we can wash, covering leftovers you put into the fridge, etc. And we now reuse all our aluminium foil, more or less, and stuff. It's just that awareness, and it becomes a bit of a sport. And I think if in a family, if you remind each other, it does make a difference. And I think in some of the products and food or clothing stuff, we're just aware of what companies are doing, and that will be a measure of success in the company. For companies in the future, is how they take this on. Yeah. And we do occasionally, not very often, we go on a bit of a litter pickup in the community. As my wife's a bit of a warrior for that, so I faithfully follow that. I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. Third question. From your job, have you noticed an increase in plastic in recent years? I was in the Merchant Navy until about 2008, and I think I did see a bit of a change, although most of the heavy polluted areas are in the rivers and estuaries of very poor countries, and that's not the area that I always sailed in. I was doing like transocean passages. But you're seeing more flotsam, more things that float in the water, just general discharge. I know one of the big hidden concerns is the filament, the fishing line. This is also plastic. These are made from filament, and they float and choke up all sorts of things. I think my awareness really is not from what I've seen as much, but in real life. Although I've seen a lot of ocean, but I think it's really through the media. That awareness has been surfaced. Yeah. And your last question here is, in the future, how do you see technology help preserve the oceans? Well, I think that's a huge topic, isn't it? And there's a huge there are areas to develop. One development is developing technologies that will collect the existing refuse plastic that is in the oceans, and there are some trials at the moment. The Danish company Maersk are doing trials off San Francisco at the moment with a floating catcher system, which is a sort of like a big floating net, and it's sort of anchored out. It's about 2 or 3 kilometers, and the ocean's currents drift down the plastic, and then it's got this sort of collector system, and that's being tested now to see whether that is scalable. I know that small ports and harbours are buying these sort of robotic, autonomous, what you call litter skimmers, and they skim across the water and they pick up the floating plastics. But I think the biggest change in technologies will be the new products that come out, so that, because if we have to wait for people to change their bad habits, that might be a bit late. So I think the acceleration of introducing completely biodegradable and recyclable and sustainable products for packaging and bags and everything that we use in the transport supply system, that has to change as fast as possible. A good measure of what the bad habits is, you can just driving around here in London, if you look out, you stop the traffic lights, have a look out what's outside your window. That will tell you there's probably about 25 to 30% of the population who do not care at all. And you can imagine what that's like in countries where awareness is very low, and the goals of trying to keep your communities clean, they just don't have that resource in their lives. So there's lots of challenges, but I think the younger generation have got a really strong handle on it. Okay, good questions. I really like this topic. Thanks very much, Ella.
So that was our interview, and I hope you really thoroughly enjoyed this podcast, and stick around for podcast 3, where we will be discussing plastic.